Boston Celtics get a much-needed easy win thanks to Kristaps Porzingis having the best shooting night of his life. Plus, keep Jaden Springer. Let's talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
B-Town, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back if I say it is stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Plus like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Prime time, Devin D. White on the sideline. Rated Jace, how it started, raise a business, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts like a Friday night game against the New Orleans Pelicans, so you'll have a Saturday podcast. If you subscribe to the show, it gets dropped directly to your device, so you just open up your favorite podcasting app. It's there, it's free, and you can enjoy it on YouTube as well. Get into that comment section, let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I have been covering the Boston Celtics for about 20 years now. I'm doing it as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You'll get $20 off your first purchase of tickets to whatever you want to go and see. Celtics get 122-100 win over the Chicago Bulls, which was a pretty easy win. They opened up on a run. The Bulls went on a run themselves, kind of back and forth first quarter. Second quarter, the Celtics kind of blew it open. Jaylen Brown was a big part of that. Kristaps Porzingis was a big part of all of it in the first half. And then the Celtics just kind of cruised from there. They got a lead as big as 24, and it was very just kind of like easy breezy after that. They won the first quarter 26-23. They won the second quarter 41-28. There's your separation. And then you win the third quarter by 4. You win the fourth quarter by 2. This is as easy as it gets. A nice, simple, boring win where, okay, feeling out process. And hey, Chicago Bulls, they're shorthanded, but they still have NBA players that are pretty good, and they had a couple of pretty decent performances. But the Celtics did exactly what they're supposed to do to a team like Chicago, 20-28 now after this game. It was, beginning of the season, I was like, yeah, man, this kind of stinks. This team's a little on the boring side, right? Just a little methodical and all of that, and after the past couple of months, I'm like, boring ain't so bad. Boring ain't so bad because the all of the questions about, what's wrong, what's this, what's that, and all, this team's never going to win a championship. Like, honestly, they might not. They might not win a championship because winning a championship is hard. One team does it. Teams don't generally repeat. That's kind of like, it is an uphill battle. At the same time, I still expect them to. I still think they're most likely to. The odds are definitely the most in their favor. So getting through, and I have no idea what Friday is going to bring. I have no idea what they're going to be like in New Orleans. They've got a New Orleans game, they got a Philly game, and then they got that Cleveland game next Tuesday. So I know they're going to be up for that Cleveland game, right? We all know they're going to be up for the Cleveland game. I don't know what they're going to do against New Orleans. I don't know what they're going to do against Philly. And that's, I think, the problem here is we don't know. I can't legitimately say they should win 4 in a row here or 3 in a row heading into the Cavs game. That the Cavs game is going to be a tough one, but I like the idea of this being part of a turnaround. And why would it be part of a turnaround, right? What's the reason for me to sit there and be like, I feel some level of confidence that things are starting to, you're starting to see them break out of some things. It's Kristaps Porzingis playing a lot better. 34 points, 10 of 18 shooting, 8 of 14 from 3. He comes out in the first quarter and he just right away, boom, 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 3 of 4 from 3. They get him a shot right away. It's very much like the Houston game. There's a couple games in a row where teams start like going to Jayson Tatum. Tatum just finds Porzingis on a pick and pop. He's there. He hits that little kind of goofy three-pointer with his left leg kicking out, and it's a weird-looking shot, but it goes in. And like for the second game in a row, after he hits that shot, he looks back at the bench. He's like smiling. Porzingis is having fun out there, and I think it's not out of the question to say maybe the biggest thing that the Celtics have been dealing with is reintegrating Kristaps Porzingis, because they were 14-3 before he came back, and they're 19-12 since. So that is one hell of a flashpoint. That it's glaring. And as I've said on the podcast dozens of times at this point, there are a lot of things happening at the same time. It is not just one thing that's been leading the Celtics to this spot, but the reintegration of Porzingis is a big part of this. Have they been their sharpest? Absolutely not. Has their defense been great? At times, no. Their clutch performance has been garbage for a lot of these losses. And Porzingis being back, and they obviously had gone incredibly cold. So Porzingis coming back changes a lot about how the team's being defended and how the team executes its offense and defense, and a little bit of confusion, and guys aren't getting the shots that they're used to. And it just changes a lot. So Porzingis' performance in this game, in the last game, you start to think, well, you know what? Maybe this is the actual beginning of something. Because if Porzingis is back on track, you can overcome Jayson Tatum, 16 points, 5 of 15 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3. And look, 5 of 15 and only 6 3-pointers. That's, he had 3 of 9 from 2. So just an overall kind of blah game, a weird game, second quarter, where he couldn't even get into the game because there was no flow. He started off well enough, but second quarter, Jayson Tatum plays a minute and 50 seconds because he went to go check back in with like a little bit before 5 minutes to go, and there were just no stoppages. The ball just kept on going. It's 3 minutes of action, which, hey, for the fans, that's great. But I think that kind of like shut Tatum down a little bit. And in the third quarter, they didn't need him to do anything because at that point, they were already up almost 20. So they didn't need a big Jayson Tatum game. So 16 points on 5 of 15 shooting, so what? Because Porzingis is playing well. And off of that flows Jaylen Brown, who's playing great, and Derrick White, who's playing great. Let me talk about Jaylen. Let me talk about Derrick when I come back. Later on, we'll talk about Jaden Springer, because all of a sudden the trade deadline maybe isn't even eventful for the Celtics. I don't know. Let's talk about all of that when I come back. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with TurboTax Expert, who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantee. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Hey, if you've noticed another podcast every Tuesday, the Locked On Eastern Conference Squad podcast, you'll see that on the YouTube feed. You'll see that on the audio feed. Sometimes I'm on it. Sometimes I'm on it. Like, we've done 2 shows, right? I was on the entire first one. I was on for the first segment of the second one. The concept of it is everybody in the Eastern Conference gets together, however many of us can at that particular time. We talk some trash. We have some fun. We talk about the big topics. We're in and out. Sometimes I'll be there for a segment. Sometimes I won't be there, but it will show up on the feed so you can get a little Eastern Conference take. That's every Tuesday. So when you're looking at it and you're like, what is this Eastern Conference Squad podcast? That's what it is. So I will be on there plenty, though. So it's just a little something different to add to your mix. So Kristaps Porzingis has this monster game, and he looked great. And before I move on to Jaylen Brown, I just want to say that Porzingis, I thought, played a really good defensive game as well. Now, he had 3 steals, so that, shows up there. 0 blocks, but I feel like he was really protecting the rim well. There are a number of times, like, I can picture, I have this vision in my head of Josh Giddey driving and running into Porzingis and just stopping on the baseline with the ball, going like, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? And probably like 2-3 other possessions with a couple of other guys. Like that was the Porzingis effect. If you want to see a defensive game where a guy protects the rim without blocking shots at all, this is the game to watch from Kristaps Porzingis, because I just felt like when I talk about a deterrent at the rim, that's what Porzingis did in this one. And look, the Bulls still managed 40 points in the paint because Porzingis only played 33 minutes. And so without Al Horford in this one, without Sam Hauser in this one, the Celtics were a little shorthanded. And so as far as bigs go, it was Cornette, and that was it. But I thought Porzingis did a really, really good job defensively. Jaylen Brown was pretty good in this game. This one of Jaylen's better performances. I think this was a very kind of, I'm going to call it a very professional performance from Jaylen. It was not always like nothing spectacular, but look, 28 points, 10 of 18 shooting. He was 1 of 5 from 3. All right, if you make one more, that's a 40% shooting night. So not that big of a deal. 7 of 11 from the line, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, a steal. By the way, that steal, I highlighted it on Boston Sports Journal, so go check it out there. I know the Celtics tweeted it out. That was just an elite play by Jaylen Brown. You go watch it again if you can. So it starts with Peyton Pritchard on Nikola Vucevic. It's a mismatch, and the Bulls are looking to go to that mismatch. And in the video, you can hear Jaylen yell, "Peyton, get out, get out!" As Jaylen scram switches. So basically, before the Bulls can get Vooch the ball against the mismatch, Jaylen comes in, kicks Peyton out. He takes the matchup because it's less of a mismatch. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a mismatch. And Peyton goes and picks up somebody else, picks up Jaylen's guy. And now Vooch is trying to back Jaylen down, and Jaylen immediately goes in, swipes at the ball, steals it, gets the ball back, goes behind his back to keep the ball alive, and boom, he's out on the break. And he gets down to the rim. His path is kind of shut off, but he just pivots back and hits that little fadeaway, and it goes in. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous, elite play. Elite because, A, recognition. And defensively, the Celtics have not had this a lot. But A, recognition. Jaylen sees it. He communicates. That's B, communication. Gets Peyton. Peyton, get out, get out. You can hear it. If you watch the video, you'll hear it clear as day. Then just amazing defense. Then incredible just athleticism to instinctively go behind the back and keep that dribble and go. And then the creative finish at the other end. Absolutely elite play from Jaylen Brown, who, again, in this game, now this is a weird one because Joe subbed him out early. Joe went back to Jayson plays most of the first quarter, and Jaylen came out. And Jaylen came into the second quarter, and the second quarter is where the Celtics broke this open, and that's where Jaylen goes for 11 points, a plus 13. He was 4 of 7, 3 of 4 from the line. Only took 1 3-pointer. He missed it, but 3 rebounds, an assist, a steal. That I think that was in that. The steal was in that second quarter there. Just that's where Jaylen did a bulk of his damage. And then Jaylen in the fourth quarter, Bulls, to their credit, man, they didn't give up. They did not quit. Shorthanded and all that other stuff, they didn't quit. The Celtics had a 24-point lead, and it got, the Bulls made their run. They cut it down to 16, and you're like, okay, I was thinking, oh, here we go. We're gonna get actual crunch time here. But Jaylen, Peyton Pritchard had a hand in this too. But Jaylen was part of the closing group that kept the lead where it needed to be. So this was one of Jaylen's, I think, best performances of the season. And then, there's Derrick White, who, as I've said a million times, he's the bellwether. The Celtics do not lose when Derrick White puts up a 22-point performance, 7 of 14 shooting, 4 of 10 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, 5 assists, a block. That's a line that's a winning line. Derrick was just filling in the gaps, right? When Jaylen was, Jaylen did a lot, Porzingis did a lot, Pritchard had his moments, but Derrick White was just there filling in the gaps and just had another great game. 4 of 10 in this game, 4 of 10 in the last game. I asked him after the game about, how does it feel to be back on track, on a little bit of a roll. I was like, I wouldn't call it a roll, which it's just 2 games, but yeah, okay. But you're 8 of 10. 8 of 20 in these last 2 games, a solid 40%. You're kind of back to being yourself. And this is what the Celtics need. They need him to be back to being himself. So on a night where Tatum isn't his best, and, Holiday plays 22 minutes and doesn't play a ton late in the game, Derrick White, the combination of Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, and then Derrick White, what's that? 34 for Porzingis, 28 for Jaylen, and 22 for Derrick White. So that's 40, 50, 84 points for those 3 guys out of 122. And you fill in the gaps with Jayson Tatum and Drew Holiday, and Peyton Pritchard has 10 and 7 assists, and Jaden Springer checks in with 4, who I'm going to get to in just a minute here. So what else do you want? This is just a nice performance with some Porzingis, 8 of 14 from 3. That's his career best. 8 is the most he's ever made in a game. This is the 5th time he's had 7 or more. It's the first time he's done it in Boston. And he knew that 8 was his career high. He had one more shot to make it and he missed. Oh, well, there'll be another time. I asked him about it after the game. He's like, there'll be another time. I'll have another chance, which he probably will have another chance. Jaden Springer. All I've talked about all season long is that Springer is gone. Now, I don't know. I don't think he should be gone. All of a sudden, I don't think he should be gone. Let's talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is going to get you to whatever you want to go watch, whatever live event you want to go watch. And the beauty of this is they have a number of features that can get you into something like an NFL playoff game. I mean, maybe the Super Bowl. I haven't checked to see what the Super Bowl, but they're able to get you into a lot of these NFL sporting events, theater, all these big time events. They have a feature called Game Time Picks, which makes getting the tickets for these events easier. It filters out the fluff. You get incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time going through scroll, and all of that stuff through thousands of seats. I've used the Game Time app. My wife has used the Game Time app. We've gone to a couple of different sporting events. She gets into whatever shows that she wants, and I say, go enjoy those shows. I'm not going, but she uses it to get those tickets. The Super Deal is a particularly impressive feature. It offers the best value for the event. The app's features like seat views before you buy, all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout. It all makes the experience smooth and reliable. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and the lowest price guarantee can give you peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Now go download or sign up for the all-new Celtics newsletter, the ultimate Celtics newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, click on the Locked On Celtics logo, sign up for that newsletter, drop your email in there. It gets delivered directly to your inbox. Celtics, NBA, and fantasy coverage all in one place. And it's a great resource if you happen to miss a podcast. I understand. Like I say, you're every dayer. And by the way, thank you to all the people who come and say hi to me at the arena and who tell me they listen every day. It's so nice to meet everybody. If you happen to be busy, or I get it, if you happen to listen to another podcast somewhere along the way, that's okay. It's okay. I'm not mad. The newsletter can help you kind of catch up on that. Go check it out at LockedOnDaily.com. Jaden Springer got into this game, right? And immediately starts hounding, and he makes an immediate defensive impact. So Springer played 20 minutes, 4 points. So he hit a 3, he hit a free throw, 2 steals, 1 blocked shot, 5 rebounds, and a couple of assists. 1 of 2 from 3. What a perfect performance for a guy like Jaden Springer. Now, I understand that the financial situation for the Celtics is such that, you can trade Springer, and I know that they have deals in place if they want to dump Springer somewhere and attach a pick. They absolutely can do that if they want. But do they want to now? And this is going to be the interesting question. All of a sudden, the Celtics in Jaden Springer have a little bit of that wild card guy. And I think he brings a little bit of that kind of energy changer off the bench. And I asked Joe Mazzulla about it after the game, and he was careful not to diminish what other guys have done. But the way I framed the question was, like, Peyton Pritchard was the guy that you inject, like, he's the energy guy, right? He comes in and he changes the energy. And yeah, he can still do that, but he's just a part of your rotation. He comes in, and from a coach's perspective, anybody who comes in off the bench is supposed to bring energy, right? You don't want a guy coming in off the bench and be like, oh, yeah, okay, let me just work my way into this. Let me ease my way into this game. No, coming off the bench is like, boom, you come in fully caffeinated, ready to go. What's going on, everybody? Let me get in there. Let me defend. Let me hit that shot. Let me get in. It's tough. It's a tough job coming off the bench. It really is. But you know what I'm talking about. When the energy of the game is in a certain wavelength. Pritchard now is, he's bringing energy, but he's more in tune with the wavelength of the game because he's just a regular part of the rotation. He is the sixth man, and he played 34 minutes in this game. He's a major part of this rotation. So he's not the quote-unquote energy guy anymore. Kata, sure. Jordan Wall, sure. Those guys can come in and do it. But what Springer has done recently, because he's such a tenacious on-ball defender, he forces everyone else who may not exactly want to be defending at that, with that same energy, he forces them to kind of keep up. He's their pacer. He's if anybody's a runner out there, if you run with a coach or you run in a group and there's a pacer, like those running clubs, they normally have a person in front who's an actual good runner to get the rest of the runners, like people like me, they're like, okay, so what's the pace? You're running at a 9-minute pace? Hey, I'm running at an 8:45. So let's go. Let's keep it up. And you got to push. You got to keep up, right? It's just like car racing. There's a pace car, and they're setting the speed. Springer can come in off the bench and has proven himself since the Clippers game to be able to pace the Celtics, to be able to come in and say, okay, are you being a little lethargic, whomever is out there? Well, I'm going to pick up the ball, and I'm going to be up in his face, and I'm going to be turning him up and down the floor. And if you're going to be lazy, then you're going to look really bad next to me. And that's an element that the Celtics kind of have been missing. Pritchard did that a lot last year and definitely did it the year before whenever he got into the game. I think the energy guy, the energy boost guy, is typically a guy who doesn't play a ton, and he comes in. It's almost like wrestling. If you watch the old school, the tag team wrestling, and that one guy is just getting, just beat up in the middle of the ring, and he finally tags in his partner. His partner comes in, and it's like House of Fire. That's what I'm talking about, energy guy. That's the guy who comes in. It's like beating up on that guy, and then he knocks the guy off the canvas in the corner, comes back, and he hits the other guy, and he changes the energy of the match, which is completely real and in no way scripted. But that kind of energy, that's the type of impact that I think Springer has had to some degree, and the Celtics have been missing this season. I feel like maybe they should have gone to Springer a little bit earlier, which is easy for me to say because now I'm looking at it and being like, oh, wow, it's working. And maybe you shouldn't have waited so long. I am kind of curious to see how much this run has changed the opinion of the Celtics and what they might do with Springer moving forward. Trade deadline is next week. Right? Next week? Phew. Like I said, if they want to trade him, there are people there willing to do it. There are teams there willing to do it for a second round pick. It would save the Celtics. I mean, he's making $4 million. It would save the Celtics like $16 million in luxury tax. So it would be incredibly helpful. Is he worth that? Well, Tom and I forget if Tom mentioned this before while we were recording the podcast or afterwards, but yesterday Tom and I were talking, and he's like, if he changes that impact, if he changes one game in the playoffs, then he's worth the $16 million if the Celtics win a championship. If he wins them one game because of this kind of defensive energy, he's worth it. I honestly don't know what's going to happen with Springer, but man, at this point, I'm like, just keep him. Just keep him. I thought he did a good job in this game. So the Celtics get this win against Chicago. Nice win, simple win, uneventful win. May even call it boring. That's fine. But it's a win. They needed one like this. Now, can they build on it? We'll see. Friday night in New Orleans. I'll have a bonus podcast after that. Sunday, back to the normal schedule after the game against Philly. And moving forward, it's a Monday through Friday show. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. This is a free podcast that drops directly to your device when you subscribe. Get into the comment section on YouTube. Let me know what you're thinking there, and I would love it. Please help me grow the show. As I've said, the other Locked On shows are nipping at our heels. People aren't subscribing the way they used to. So please share the show so people can get to it and find out that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.